Hey guys, welcome back to another great episode of SYD Life. Today we're going to be joined again by Ellie there, and we're going to be talking about escapism.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be really good.
Let's
do
go.
it. So Australia is killing it.
Australia's...
Like killing it at the Olympics.
I woke up this morning to best ever Olympics.
The headlines this morning.
Best
best
ever.
Australia has
Yes.
ever done. And I just want to hear I just want to hear highlights because I've had some
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
I think the thing that has stood out to me the most is
Mhm.
just how well we've done in athletics.
Mm.
It's
So
shocking.
it's usually a
It's-
non-event for
It's
Aussies.
like we don't exist in it.
Yeah.
Because like the last
Well,
2021
yeah.
Olympics.
It's like we're not built for it.
No.
We're built for the water.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
2021 Olympics, Rowan Browning was in the 100-meter sprint,
Yeah,
and that was
man.
like the moment.
I was rooting for him.
I thought he had it. I was
No,
obsessed with
no.
him back then. He didn't have it.
No.
He did much. He did like one of his worst times. Like it was horrible.
Oh,
Anyway,
man.
all the best to him.
Yep.
But yeah, we got the men. Sorry, we got the silver and bronze in women's high jump.
Yes.
We got the
Pole vault.
pole
We just
vault.
got gold.
We just got gold. We got bronze in. I'm pretty sure we got
High jump?
bronze. No, we
No.
got a man got bronze. I think in like.
Oh,
hammer throw?
discus.
I think it was hammer throw.
The Denny guy.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
discus.
Discus.
What else did we get?
I don't know. More than usual.
More than usual, and like we're just in more heats than normal.
Yeah.
There's like the.
like Kathy Freeman is still like the reigning
I know.
like
Yeah.
because obviously that was the most iconic moment at the Sydney Olympics,
Yeah.
and I was like, 24 years has passed.
Yeah.
And it still holds up.
We've never
Yeah,
gotten back in.
for 400 meters at least. But
Yeah,
yeah,
It's
she's
crazy. And then also
Oh,
like the
gosh.
Fox sisters.
the Fox sisters. Okay, so this is my highlight. I have played a bit of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 growing up.
Oh, nice. Tyler's been yapping about the skateboarding
Yeah.
guys.
But apart from that, can't skate, never
No.
wanted to, can't do anything. You know, like I'm not that guy.
I have roller skates
I'm not
in my
that guy.
car right now.
But the women's park skating event came on,
Hey,
and I was like, wait, they're all like 14. What is
was Ariana True? Was that
what
her
is Arissa?
name? Arissa True?
Arissa True.
Queen
Yeah,
of the world.
but here's the thing: she got gold.
And
The
then-
Aussie guy then got gold.
And that was him defending his title.
I did not know we were good
Yeah.
at skateboarding.
Yeah, it's just like the
When did this happen?
the surfy. I think like they're all from like Queensland and just
Yeah.
like the full like surfy vibe.
Like that was a highlight for me.
Yeah.
There's just something about like these like 14-year-old girls just on like the biggest stage in the world.
It's so exciting.
Just like
Girl power.
sure. But they were just so young. I was very
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah.
Because then
there
even
was
the
a
guys were like, they were
17-year-old
all in their 20s.
There was a 17-year-old in the final, an Aussie 17-year-old
Mm.
in the men's final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Keefan
Keef?
or something.
Wiz Khalif?
And then also like
Yeah.
the swimming. Oh my gosh.
I'm just,
I'm
I mean, I don't
devastated
know
the
about you,
swimming's
Shah,
over.
but I'm
think I could
already
do it.
mourning the end of,
The Olympics.
no, you could not swim.
I reckon
No,
that's
no.
that's the thing
No,
about
you
the
could not
Olympics.
swim.
That's the thing. That's the thing about the Olympics. You're like, just put me in.
No.
Put me in, coach.
People have done that. And we've seen how that's, I think a few years ago, this guy from a country somehow qualified.
Oh yeah, that happened with a woman with skiing.
Yes, I saw that.
It was so
She rigged the
funny.
system.
Yeah.
And she was
Honestly,
ranked like 30th in the
All
world.
the
or something.
power to you.
But what I was saying is, I'm already mourning the end of the Olympics.
Yeah, it's really sad. But then we
Because-
2 years and then we have the Winter Olympics.
Yeah,
Scotty
yeah,
James,
sure.
Our
But
snowboarder.
there's regular me,
Yeah.
and then once a leap year, so once every 4 years, there's feral Olympic me.
Yeah, it's like a whole new side of everyone comes
Yeah,
out.
I'm rocking like multiple screens each
Oh
night.
yeah, I've watched every
Yep.
single minute of every single artistic gymnastics competition. Like I've watched every
Yeah,
apparatus.
wow.
I was a gymnast, so it's like the thing that I
Sorry?
love. I was a competitive gymnast.
Competitive.
I was a competitive gymnast.
You went
for
and
years.
competed in gymnastics.
It was the only like competition sport I ever did.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, this is news.
Yeah. Anyway.
What?
Yeah.
So do you sit in front of your TV and you're like, yes, double
Yeah.
Randolph.
Simone Biles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I was never as good as her.
Yeah. No one is. That's the thing.
Rebecca Andrade from Brazil is
Mhm.
she's
Mhm.
pretty close to Simone.
Mhm.
Anyway, we're about to talk to Ellie Zaia, who, if
Mm.
she's a champion of anything,
Yeah.
it's being a guest on this podcast.
Yeah.
So
She brings quality.
quality. I just sit there going,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very exciting. So
Let's get into it.
let's get into that. Well, I'm now here with Ellie Zaia, back again.
Thank you.
Honestly, been counting down the days. I messaged Ellie in like June. I was like, when's the next time you can come on, please? But you're in your honours year.
I
in
am
doing psychology,
doing my honours year halfway through.
Halfway
so
through.
I'm getting there.
getting there.
And how's your study going?
It's going well. It's my first week of semester, so
Mhm.
I was back yesterday.
Okay. And last time you told me that you always
Yeah.
started your assignments
Oh
the night
no,
before.
I
How's
have
that
such
going?
bad news.
Sure.
So, okay, no, I started them with like heaps of time, but it happened twice where I like forgot to submit the assignment.
Oh.
It happened twice. I had to submit it like the day after it was due. It was so
Shut up.
sad.
I need to sit down
I
with you and go
know.
through your
I
plan, okay?
honestly need
Your
I need help.
procedures.
I'm gonna read the book that you've recommended for me though.
Yes.
So
I
but
bought
yeah.
Shah a book today.
yeah,
It's called How to Be a Straight A Student.
Yes.
And you're going to read it,
I'm
aren't
gonna
you?
read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow along on my Goodreads if you want. I'll update every page.
Yes, good.
But speaking of kind of reading,
Mhm.
kind of, we're going to be talking about feeling anxious about escapism and that
Mhm.
whole idea. So I love to read.
Mhm.
That's kind of my zone of like dipping out of reality. Do you read as well? I feel like you also read.
So first of all, reading is actually such a healthy form of escapism,
Yes.
which I'm sure we can get into that.
Yeah.
But that's
yeah.
a good choice. I'm going to be honest. I would say my unhealthy form of escapism is YouTube.
Okay,
Do
totally.
I sound like an old person
No,
saying that?
because
I'm a total YouTuber.
yeah, wow.
I love it. I get sucked down the most random
totally.
rabbit holes. I think people would be
Yeah.
surprised to see my YouTube feed.
Wow, oh my gosh, this is so intriguing.
Yes. But our
Wow.
church just did a like a corporate fast, meaning that everybody fasted.
Yes.
So I did a digital fast.
I did the same
Did
thing.
you?
Yeah, because I mean, social media is obviously something that
Okay.
like I'm totally addicted to.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to hear how you went because
Yeah.
I was a bit nervous because I had got in the habit of watching YouTube before bed.
Mm-hmm.
But and also like I do a lot of driving for my work, so I'm constantly like listening to podcasts,
Yeah.
listening to
Just
educational
always
things.
consuming things.
Totally.
Yeah.
And after about 3 days, I started having all these creative ideas.
Honestly.
Did this happen to you?
Yeah. Literally, I'd like entered a new brain zone that I had never experienced before.
Seriously, we're so busy like getting processing everybody else's input that
Yeah.
our brains don't have time to
Yeah.
be bored, which is actually when they're most creative.
Yeah,
So-
it happened to fall on like a songwriting week for youth, and we wrote like 14 songs over like 2 days, and like everyone was so
Do you write songs?
a little bit,
Do
yeah,
you sing?
a little bit, but I leave that to my sister.
Girl, you should give us a little.
No, and it's in all the outtakes. I
Okay.
sing little jingles,
Oh, I
but
love that.
but yeah, everyone was like, we reached a new level. It was so exciting.
Incredible.
But yeah, it's very interesting. But why don't you kind of explain for us what escapism is?
Sure. So escapism, like we said, can be a really healthy thing.
Mhm.
But generally, we're talking about the habitual diversion of our minds
Okay.
to things that are purely imaginary or entertaining to escape our routine or our reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a bit of a combination
Nice.
of some of the definitions.
Yeah. So just kind of like, I've just been like reading Divergent for the first time ever.
Oh, for the first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've seen the movies,
Mhm.
but it kind of like when they like enter the simulations, and it's like they like kind of are in their like imagination. It's kind of like that.
Okay. I haven't read Divergent, I
Yeah.
have to admit. But yeah, it's non-reality.
Yeah.
It's non-reality.
Yeah.
So why do you think I think you had this question written down for me,
Mhm.
but why do you think you escape?
Yeah.
Or you're in a large social circle. Why do you
Yeah.
think your friends escape? And do you think it's purely for entertainment, or do you think sometimes it's to escape like a lack of well-being?
Yeah, I think for me, I find myself when I'm like highly stressed or like anxious about something, or there's like procrastination, I'm just like, I just don't want to think about something.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, sometimes they'll be like, I'm just like reading a really good book, or like I just really want to watch this movie, and I'm like, oh, I'll be entertained. But when like I've a lot during like the uni semester, I'm like, I just want to just leave what I'm thinking about to the side and like enter a new realm.
And when you feel that way, more on the stress side of things, is it more the digital forms of escapism that you're going to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like just anything I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So digital, like our devices do such an incredible job of like transporting our minds somewhere else, and it does it relatively quickly.
Yeah. Especially with like short form content now, right?
Totally.
Just like constant switching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our lives sometimes are so demanding, fast-paced, yet lacking in meaning,
Yeah.
deep
right.
social relationships, and actually simple fun,
Yes.
that sometimes we just want a bit of pleasure.
Yeah.
And like, let's imagine that we're talking to an audience of full-time working adults. You get up in the morning, you work a full day's work, you pick up the kids from school, you make dinner, you have dinner.
Yeah.
And in amongst all that, you're replying to emails and all your notifications. And after a day of intensity like that, it's the most intuitive thing to just reach for the thing that is going to switch your mind off the quickest.
Yes.
And like, as we've talked about, we love novels and reading.
Yeah.
We love the hero's journey. We totally resonate with it.
Totally.
But the thing is that like fiction grossly underestimates the messiness of real life challenges.
Yeah.
And we finish high school and we're so keen to become adults.
Yes. Totally.
But then we quickly realize that life's challenges are not as romantic as what we thought.
Yeah.
They're really yucky.
Yeah.
And life is ordinary much of the time.
Yeah.
And this is why pursuing meaning over temporary entertainment, temporary pleasure, most of the time is really important.
Yeah.
And I remember we talked a little bit about happiness last time.
Yeah.
So there's this lecturer from, he's Jewish, from Harvard University, Tal Ben Shahar, and he lectured the most attended uni course at Harvard in Harvard's history.
What a title!
What a man
for Harvard! Wow.
Oh, seriously. And it was a positive psychology course. So I'm pretty sure it was called How to Be Happy.
Yeah.
It was like the science of
I feel like I may have
happiness.
even heard of that. Feels
Right, maybe.
quite famous. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You've probably heard of him. Anyway, he talks about the big ancient Greek debate on happiness.
Wow, yeah.
Hedonic happiness versus eudaimonic happiness.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Tell us.
Okay. So in its simplest form, hedonic happiness is all about short-term pleasure. You could sum it up by saying this is about maximizing pleasure, minimizing displeasure.
Yeah.
And then eudaimonic happiness, this is Aristotelian happiness.
Wow.
So Aristotle was not interested in short-term pleasure. He was very interested in the flourishing life, living a life of meaning.
Yeah.
This type of life sometimes accompanies pleasure, but it doesn't seek it.
Yes, right.
And so what's interesting is that numerous studies show that hedonic motivation produces far less of an outcome on our happiness levels than eudaimonic motivation, meaning simply that seeking happiness, ironically, isn't the road to happiness, but seeking meaning is.
Yeah, wow.
So it's interesting that meaning has such an impact on our levels of well-being because so this is an American statistic. I don't actually know what it is for Australians.
Yeah.
But guess how many people?
I love the guessing games. You're the only guest that comes on that like really tests me. It's so good.
I love it. I must be an old soul. I love guessing games.
Yeah.
So fun.
My gosh, same. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Okay. So guess how many people, what percentage of people find their work, the thing that we spend most of our time doing, engaging?
Oh gosh. I feel like it'll be so low. I'll say like 20%.
Okay, that's a good guess.
Yeah.
13%.
Wow. Oh, it's
so 87% of Americans don't find their work pleasurable or find purpose in their work.
Yeah, wow.
Now, this also translates to our kids. Like us being on social media all the time, sometimes we've got to think about what message this is sending our kids as well. A study came out of UCLA in 2007. And so these researchers asked little kids what they wanted to be when they grew up.
Yeah,
like what's the main thing that they wanted?
Yeah.
And prior to 2007, you can imagine that kids would say things like being an astronaut.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to be a hairdresser. Thank God I didn't do that.
I was
nothing against
like
that.
a psycho child, and I was like, I want to be a clown on stilts. It was like it's like
so creative.
It's like an iconic like Charlotte Laidlaw story.
It's not too late.
It's true. I can go for that.
I
also wanted to be a pink cat somehow. So I'm not sure how possible that one is. But I like used to go and be like, I want to be a clown on stilts.
Right. Well, you wanted to entertain.
Yeah.
So kids used to say things like, I want to be a fireman, a librarian, a policeman, a teacher, a nurse. Anyway, in 2007, these researchers asked a whole bunch of 11-year-olds what they wanted to be. And the main answer was famous.
Wow. Okay.
So these messages are obviously passing down to our kids as well. And that was in 2007. So now I imagine it's like TikTok famous.
Yeah, it will be like,
Yeah.
like a, TikTok. I don't even know. What's an influencer? That's what I'm looking for.
An influencer.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. That is crazy. Yeah. So finding meaning or just, like, okay. So is it kind of, it's almost like you've got to reverse psychology yourself kind of, right? Like, where like you trying to force yourself into happiness by this like temporary fix.
Yeah.
But it's actually just like take your, like almost like look up kind of.
Definitely.
Just like see the stars in the sky.
Totally.
Yeah.
So there is a time for technology. A lot of my friends sometimes say that I'm like a techno-resistant grandparent.
Yeah, right.
And
honestly,
I am a little bit of an old soul.
That's better being called like, like we talked last week about Gen Alpha and like the lingo that they use. And one of them is like brain rot.
Right.
Which is like when people like chronically like online. Oh, sorry.
That's a little bit of brain rot for you.
Brain rot, there it is. Yeah, like when people like chronically online, people be like, oh my gosh, it's like just the brain rot speaking when they just like have, Yeah. So we don't want that.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's a time for technology. Technology is our aid. It's there to serve us. As soon as it's taking away from really important areas of your life, we need to rethink it.
Totally.
So what was your question again, lovely?
Just kind of like, I guess the question is, how do we not try and force ourselves to be happy kind of?
So again, it's not that, and we can talk about this later, it's not that wanting leisure time is bad. That's actually
totally.
like, we need play, we need leisure. It's just that, so what we were saying before about people having really, really hectic long days.
Yes.
Let's imagine people have 2 to 3 hours of free time in that day.
Yeah.
For some people, that's a conservative estimate. For some people, that's a really generous estimate.
Yeah.
Yes, the most intuitive thing to reach for the digital entertainment.
It's just fast, yeah.
But
sorry, would it just kind of, the like suggestion here is to, instead of reaching for the phone, like go on a walk with like a friend? Is like that kind of the vibe?
Totally. So this is like a Cal Newport concept, is high quality leisure.
Yeah.
So this is non-digital forms of leisure. They take more investment at the start. And we've convinced ourselves that, because we're so tethered to our devices, we've convinced ourselves, you know what, I'm too tired. I don't have enough time to invest in something that's like high quality.
Yes, okay.
When that's the very thing that's going to really actually not only boost our well-being, but actually sustain our well-being long term. So pursuing meaning, things with meaning over instant pleasure, ironically, as we said, actually gives you more pleasure.
Yeah. So it's just like slowing down almost and having, it's like instead of having like 2-minute noodles for dinner, have a meal. It's like more nourishing.
Totally.
Just like kind of, like nourishing our mind and our like rest.
And there is And we don't like that because there's initial cost to that.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. That's so true. Wow. So smart. So good. I honestly love it. I learned so much. And so I guess kind of on that is when we talk about our relationships, because obviously, like, I feel like I sometimes, because for example, my sister and I, we like still live together.
Yep.
We both work like full days sometimes, and so there's like the few hours after dinner where it's like we might be so drained that it's like I don't even see her, but then like, and so then we'll just like be in our separate rooms like watching TV or whatever. But then there's like a few times where we like play cards together, and that's like so much more fun.
Yeah.
And like so much more like enriching. And so if we think about like how it can impact our social interactions and like our relationships, this kind of like drive for like the temporary escapism, like if that is digitally, like how can it kind of impact our relationships with like other humans?
Yeah, great question. So if we're putting aside children who are using these devices habitually, because that has its own impact on their development. But if we're talking about teenagers and adults, I really think the main way is that it's replacing in-person interaction.
Yes.
So
totally.
there's this idea of social displacement, essentially the idea that time online on social media is replacing face-to-face interaction. Now, face-to-face deep interaction and connection is one of the biggest predictors of well-being, and surprisingly not only well-being but also physical health as well, which is really interesting. So college students in 1987, they would spend an average of 13.5 hours a week socializing with their friends. In 2016, that went down to 9 hours a week socializing with friends, and then in recent years that's gone down even more. But that's for college students who are in an environment where they're around their friends all the time. They have every opportunity to socialize. Imagine how low that number is for people living by themselves, which is becoming increasingly common in Australia. So that would be one of the main concerns, is that it's actually replacing in-person interaction, which is so important. And then the other thing is our development. My sister is obsessed with this social psychologist called Jonathan Haidt. And he talks about this really interesting fact that prior to the 80s and 90s, children had play-based childhoods. And then 80s and 90s comes along. Parents are more aware of things like kidnappings and other threats. So he said it was common for parents to see technology as the savior. This was an answer to their children playing inside safely, being entertained. And he says that prior to 2010, teenage boys had the highest rates of hospitalization for broken bones.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then after 2010, the admission rate for teenage boys completely drops, and the highest group presenting for broken bones is their grandparents.
Wow.
And so he says this is because they're not outside playing anymore. They're not outside climbing trees. And so kids might be physically more safe inside watching TV, but he says that it's probably at the detriment of their social and even physical development as well.
Wow. It's like massive. Has like a massive impact.
Crazy.
Wow. It's crazy. It's like, I love learning about all this stuff, but like freaks me out.
Why does it freak you out?
It's just like the world we're living in these days. It's like, just, I guess the whole thing that like I'm sure we'll kind of land on is like the balance, right? But before we get to that, when we were talking about it, you were kind of mentioned kind of like the science of like the dopamine and stuff. So I thought that could be cool to kind of hear about.
So let me just say, there's like, when I say these facts, it's not to scare you and to scare people. It's just good to be so aware of like a question I often ask myself in the area of mental health, but also in physical health, is how is my body created to function at its best? So it's just good to be aware of what's natural for our bodies, what's actually natural that's gonna make us feel good.
Totally.
So escapism, dopamine. There is this well-renowned psychiatrist in the States. His name's Dr. Amen. And he's like a pioneer in brain imaging. I think he's scanned over like 250,000 brains.
Wow.
And he talks about mental health. He actually likes to call it brain health. Mm-hmm. And he says that our brain health functions at its best when we drip dopamine.
Nice.
So dopamine is our feel-good neurochemical. Mm-hmm. It's released when we're exposed to pleasure or to reward. Mm-hmm. And dopamine's role is to say, hey, brain, whatever you just did, repeat it. Repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, please, because it feels really good.
Yeah.
And I like it. Mm-hmm. So again, the problem with our fast-paced culture is our pleasure-seeking culture actually often exploits our brain's reward system.
Yeah, okay.
So we have this constant stream of dopamine, which isn't supposed to be so constant.
Right.
And that exhausts our brain's pleasure centers. And this results in things like low mood, low motivation, anxiety, depression. And it actually means that things that we once felt enjoyable, like everyday tasks that we once found enjoyable, actually become less enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Dr. Amen talks about dopamine dumping activities.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this would be like any of the things that we've said in excess.
Yes,
there's a place for them, but when it's done habitually or in excess, things like social media scrolling, TikToking, online shopping, gaming.
Yeah, gaming would be big.
Gambling also, and of course things like pornography as well. Mm-hmm. So these dump dopamine, they exhaust our pleasure centers, and that intense dopaminergic high that we once got from some of these things maybe, we actually start to require more stimuli to have that same high, and so the addictive cycle begins.
Yeah.
And so he talks about dopamine dripping activities, and like we mentioned before, these are things like spending time with loved ones, playing with your dog, being outside, being in nature, playing board games, playing a musical instrument, sport, painting, drawing. There's so many things, and like we said, there's a higher investment for these things initially, but they're the very things that will increase your well-being, your sense of meaning as well.
Because the last topic that we actually talked about was like when you aren't where you thought you would be in life, and we talked a lot about kind of like, I guess, like searching for meaning and like finding the joy in the ordinary. So this is like so cool to kind of hear the like what's actually happening in our head.
It used to be much more achievable for us to find the joy in the ordinary.
Totally.
Because our pleasure centers weren't exhausted.
And so then like the constant scrolling like every 6 seconds, I guess, would just like absolutely throw that out the window. So that's massive. So then to kind of bring it all together, what are some like ways that we can have this like healthy sense of escapism? I think we've like mentioned a few, but just to kind of like wrap it all up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that leisure and play, I would go as far as to say that they're actually psychological needs. Mm-hmm. We need them.
Yeah.
Cal Newport says we need to reclaim leisure.
Yeah, right.
You know, the line between work and life has become so blended, and part of that's due to technology, because there is an expectation that we're available to everyone 24/7.
Yes.
It's very unnatural for humans.
Totally.
We need privacy, we need solitude for productivity to come. Mm-hmm. But as that line between work and life becomes less distinct, people spend much of their leisure time in the same way that they actually spend their work time on their devices, checking apps, when that's the time that we need to be disconnecting, reconnecting to the physical world, and doing things that really re-energize us. If we look at nature, like just the seasons and the way that flowers bloom, the common pattern in nature is like rest, produce, rest, produce. It's not produce.
Totally.
And like how much more as humans do we need to rest? And obviously physical rest, but also like stopping to actually enjoy all the things that we've worked so hard to build and create. Yeah. So that's actually a biblical principle. Yeah. Stopping to enjoy what we've created. Yeah. And you mentioned what did you say, the stars before? Or?
Yeah, just like look at the stars.
So that's wonderment. Yeah. Do you know, wonderment is becoming like an extinct emotion.
Wow.
Because like we said, we don't have time to stop and be bored and come up with our own ideas. Like a good question to ask yourself is, when is the last time I felt wonderment? When's the last time I thought about an experience or looked at something in nature and actually felt pleasantly surprised or in awe? You know, it's so lucky where I live because after about 10 p.m. when everyone's lights go out, you get the best view of the stars.
Yeah, well,
every now and again, even when I'm really, have a full-on week, sometimes I'll just stop and go out for a couple of minutes and just look up at the night sky.
Yeah.
And the night sky to me is something that just...
It's just unreal.
It blows
We don't talk about it enough.
No,
the Milky Way.
It's insane. The Milky Way. Bring back the Milky Way. Yeah, and like, Shah, do you know what people used to do back in the day when they would get home from work?
What?
They would sit around the dinner table and talk.
Honestly.
And do you know what they did after that?
Tell me.
They would have sing-alongs.
Wow.
When's the last time you had a sing-along?
I've had a sing-along. Oh, it's been a while.
Can you remember?
I honestly wouldn't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had...
I'm going to reintroduce sing-alongs into my life. That is so fun.
Well, we had my dad's 70th a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my boyfriend were just supposed to be there at the start, just helping my mum serve the food.
Yeah.
They just had a few of their closest friends over.
Yeah.
And it was the funnest night.
Wow.
Like my mum had planned all these games and they had a massive feast and they did speeches. And then one of my dad's friends, who's an insane musician, got his guitar out and they sat around singing bangers from like the 60s and 70s.
So special.
Like I said, me and my boyfriend were only supposed to be there at the start of the night, but we could not pull ourselves away. Just singing these songs for hours. It was like,
my dad,
was
like genuinely, we were in the car together yesterday and I was playing a band that he like grew up listening to, and he was like, I remember one time like singing through this whole songbook with my friend, and I was like, that is so random, but like it happened apparently in like the 80s. Like,
well, there you go. Yeah, we need to reclaim leisure, we need to reclaim play, we need it. And like and again, there is absolutely a place for technology, but
absolutely
don't be technology's servant. Let it be an aid to you. Let it serve you.
Totally. It's such a good point. Yeah. It's put it away. I'm speaking to myself. Like, put the phone away, especially in just like in terms of being productive as well.
Yeah.
It can be such a distraction.
It is the quick answer, like the quick switch off, but just have a think about your week and have a think about how can I take 10 minutes of a little bit more effort to actually invest in something here that's actually gonna energize you so much more and be so much more rewarding to you than sitting down for 2 hours and watching a film.
Totally. I think I said on a previous podcast, someone told me that like every day like have something that like, what's the word? Just like something that kind of like brings you joy every day, every week, every month, and like every year.
I love that.
And it's just like, if like just going on a walk every day.
Yeah.
And then like for me, it's like going to walk every day. Every Saturday morning, we have like breakfast together as a family, and then like every month, every year, just like something.
That's so good.
Some leisure.
That's so good. Leisure.
Like meaning,
and laughing.
Yeah, meaningful, enriching. Yeah.
And do you know what's so ironic about making time for those things is like that informs your work life so much.
Totally.
Productivity. Yeah. I mean, we probably don't have time to go into it now, but there's so many studies on how like, actually there was one really interesting study where they reduced a whole company's workload to 4 days instead of 5 days.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Anyway, after 3 months, they found the employees more productive than when they were doing 5 days because they were taking a day to do leisurely activities.
Oh, it's so fascinating. Well, I feel like we've just touched the iceberg, so you're gonna have to come back on. But thank you so much, Ellie, for joining us. We learned so much, and you're so great to talk to. So
there's
Ellie Zaia talking to us about escapism. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thanks, girl.
Well, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Respectfully, we've been served. We've been fed.
Incredible. Yes.
Yeah, Ellie is such a treasure on this podcast.
Yeah. Thank you, Ellie.
Like,
yeah.
So wise and just like wise, but also so smart and so knowledgeable about all this stuff. So it was great to give, like clarity and like some really great insight. But to wrap it up, I thought Ellie loves to test me in our thing. So I thought
She's
I just need to kind of test you now.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite things I ever did.
Not new for you, but go on.
one of my favorite segments that I did with Alex was I just
Yes.
gave him random words and he had to try and guess the definition.
Oh, great.
So
I'm really
you're better
well
with words.
read.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this first word, I went to trivia on Tuesday.
Okay.
If Mitch Hammond is listening, which he sometimes does, we got asked what this definition was.
Did you know it?
We phoned a friend, which
What?
you're allowed to do if they
You
don't
are
Google.
not allowed to phone.
We asked him and he said yeah. So shout out
What
to
in the
Beck Scott's
trivia is-
dad
Wow, Beck's.
because
okay, that
he
is
really pulled through for us.
twice removed. Okay,
Okay.
give it to me.
The word is sartorial.
Well, I'm guessing it's like, is it connected to satire?
Do you want me to give you? We got given multiple choice. I can give you multiple choice with this one. I
okay.
don't have the rest. Do you want multiple choice?
Yeah, give me that.
Is it either A, meaning sarcasm,
Mhm.
B, indifference, or C, fashion?
Man.
It's hard.
Well, my first thought was it's satire,
Mm-hmm.
but you gave me nothing on that. So I'm thinking it's not A.
Do you want it in a sentence?
Yeah.
I don't have a sentence, but I have.
No.
I have like.
I'd like to see you on the spot.
No, it's the thing that Google said was like you'd say sartorial elegance.
I'll go fashion then.
It's fashion.
So what's it mean?
It's like relating to tailoring.
Oh,
So it's like a style of dress.
man. I was like, I'm so well read.
Yeah.
Hit
You're
me
not
again.
gonna
Hit
get
me again. Hit me again.
Divagate.
Diffigate.
Divagate.
Sounds like defecate and
It ain't
and
that.
divinate. Or no.
I don't have it.
No,
in a
I don't
sentence.
know.
I think the sentence for this would be this is giving me trauma.
Difficate.
Divagate.
Divigate.
So it's like oh, we just divagated again.
I'm just gonna say you're off course. Or something.
Yeah.
No way.
It's to wander or stray from like a course. Like just like get off topic.
Okay.
So it's like the same as like digress.
Well, I digress.
Yeah.
I divagate.
I divagate.
But is it more like it's a physical thing,
No.
or can it be used for like
You can just say.
topics?
The example was like teachers often divagate when they're talking
Yeah,
to
okay.
students.
Okay.
Which was always the thing to do if it was like it's like 2:50 p.m. and the
Whoa.
teacher's going on a story and
Oh,
you're like
yeah.
keep them talking.
And you hear about some of their law.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're like keep
Ooh.
it coming.
Forbidden teacher law.
Yeah. Okay, the last word I have
Yep.
is lollygag.
In a sentence, please.
We're just lollygagging along.
I feel like it's like shooting the breeze.
I don't know what that means.
Faffing about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
You're lollygagging.
Yeah. It means just like to stroll aimlessly or like idle or dawdle.
I'm like a big
I'm
sweet
a
tooth guy.
Big lollygagger.
I'm a big. I will smash a pack of gummies. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta have the sweet treat.
Are these two things related?
No. But you know what you could,
Maybe it's like, oh, you're just
it's just like a
full
sweet
of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like a sweet time.
This right now could be a lollygag.
Yeah, you could be lollygagging listening to
Yeah.
SYD Life right now.
'Cause Ellie brought the good stuff.
She brought the good stuff.
Ellie brings the gold.
She
Yeah.
really does. She really
She's my highlight of the
Oh,
Olympics.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
Great.
there we go.
There you go.
There we go. That's another episode of SYD Life. And hey,
Mm-hmm.
next episode
Yes.
is going to be
We're
special.
switching it up.
It's going to be Father's Day.
Yep.
We're getting my dad on.
Colin.
Colin Laidlaw's coming.
He exists.
He exists.
Yes.
He's been talked about a lot. When I asked him if he wanted to come
Yep.
on the podcast, he just said, okay, with a thumbs up. That was all he said.
Oh, yeah.
Which we should all expect
I'm just
nothing
glad
less than him
he
at this
included an okay.
point. Yeah, honestly.
If he just thumbs up that.
I'm nervous though because he's like, now it's my chance.
Yeah, he's
to,
coming for blood.
Yeah, he's,
Yeah.
he's gonna come for me.
I'll pacify him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be like, Colin, rein it in.
But we'll
Yeah.
also be joined with Ryan Smith, so
Yes.
it's gonna be a really fun episode.
And I'm going to host.
You're gonna host. I'm out of here. I
Yep.
get a week off.
Yep.
People will be
Father's Day.
Father's Day, so
special.
stay
Awesome.
tuned for that. It's gonna be really good.
Great. Thanks, Shah. See
Yeah.
you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
This podcast is produced by C3 SYD Church. We exist to know Jesus, find community, and discover purpose. For information, head to c3syd.church, and for more content, go to @SYDLife.podcast. Help us reach more people in Sydney by sharing this episode with a friend. See you next time.